If you tripped while stepping on to a Paternoster elevator, you might think you would get crushed to death between the floors, or fall straight into the elevator shaft. But most of these lifts have movable flaps between the edges of the car and the landing. So even if you tripped and got stuck, the flaps would just give way, letting you climb out safely. And the panels in between each car would stop you from sliding through the gaps. But modern safety laws are way stricter now, meaning you actually can't build one of these today. If you say a curse word, your parrot could repeat the word back perfectly. And if it escapes, it could teach other birds the curse word. You see, parrots naturally copy the sounds they hear the most. And in the wild, showing off new calls makes them seem smarter. Soon, other birds will quickly copy the words and even teach them to their babies, meaning entire flocks might end up learning your favorite curse word. Your heart generates enough force to squirt blood 30 feet across a room. This powerful organ beats about 100,000 times every day and pushes about 1.5 gallons of blood through your body each minute. In a year, that's over 670,000 gallons, enough to top off an Olympic-sized swimming pool. And this means that over an average lifetime, your heart will pump around 58 million gallons of blood, which is enough to fill the Statue of Liberty 10 times. In 2016, a Samsung phone started overheating in a man's pocket and ended up actually exploding, causing second-degree burns on the man's leg. And this happened because the battery's casing was made too small on this particular model. It caused the electrodes inside to bend and make contact with each other. This led to a short circuit, which eventually made the battery overheat. And this created a cycle of chemical reactions that continually generated more and more heat until the phone eventually exploded. If you find yourself in a room with walls closing in, most people will immediately begin to panic. But this wastes time and energy. Instead, look for any mechanism or button that might stop the walls. If you can't find one, use any available objects to wedge between where the walls are moving, providing more resistance to slow them down. If that fails, try climbing up and find a space above the moving walls where you can escape the crushing force. The teller could secretly press a button with their foot if they were being robbed. That button would set off a loud bang. Then a hidden can would spray thick yellow gas all over the room. The gas would make it really hard to breathe and cause painful coughing, and the robber would get dizzy and pass out within seconds. But everyone else in the bank would also breathe in this gas, meaning workers and customers would be trapped, coughing and choking, which is why the system never caught on. Two rods are fixed together. Then the first rod spins slowly around the center. And as they turn together, the tip of the second rod draws a line in space, spinning pi times faster than the first rod. Now, if pi were a normal fraction, that line would loop around and eventually return to its starting point. But since the digits go on forever without repeating, the line never closes. Instead, each new loop just barely misses the old one, since pi never repeats. And it just keeps twisting into new shapes, never repeating the same trajectory twice. He rode his motorcycle without a helmet, and the police gave him a fine. But he was an electrician with access to the power grid, so he checked the records and found the police station hadn't paid its bill in 3 years. Now, this bill was incredibly expensive, so he shut off their electricity. For 5 hours, the police station went dark, all because they gave a fine to the wrong guy. The vacuum mistook the woman's hair for dust and sucked it deep into its gears as she napped on the floor. She woke up in sudden agony, her scalp throbbing as her hair became tightly tangled in the machine's grip. Desperate and panicked, she frantically called emergency services, unable to pull herself free. Paramedics carefully worked to untangle the strands from the vacuum's mechanical teeth. She lost about 10 strands of hair but was otherwise unharmed. The frozen patty is pressed between two heated metal plates. This cooks both sides at the same time, sealing in the juices. In just 40 seconds, the patty is fully cooked and moved to a heating tray. At the same time, the buns pass through a toaster to warm them up. Then the toppings are added, and a ketchup gun squirts the perfect amount onto the bun. It's then wrapped and served in just a few minutes. Imagine you woke up dangling on a trapeze high in the sky. You start freaking out. You're so high you can't even see the ground. Now, you have no idea how you got here, but a part of you thinks this might be a dream, just because of how odd the situation is. I mean, you can't even see where the chains end. This has to be a dream. This means you should just let go and you'll wake yourself up, but it does feel real. So maybe you shouldn't fall just in case. Hours turn into days, and you're getting exhausted. You're afraid you're going to fall asleep and let go on accident, but maybe that's a good thing? There really isn't any other option, and time is running out. What do you do? How fast would you need to pull to keep everything in place? Well, when you pull the cloth normally, friction grabs the objects on top and tries to drag them with it. But if your table is perfectly smooth, you yank fast enough, and the weight is stronger than the friction, it will keep them still while the cloth slips out from underneath. Now, the further the cloth has to travel, the more friction it creates, meaning for a full 16-seat table, you would have to attach a long rope to a rally car and hit the gas. And once the tablecloth was pulled at 100 miles per hour, it would leave everything where it belongs. They filled the beached whale with dynamite and pressed the detonator, but instead of turning it into small pieces, it blew giant chunks of blubber into the sky. Some flew over 100 feet before crashing down. People who had gathered at a safe distance to watch were hit with greasy whale bits, and they ran as the stink of rotting meat filled the air. One piece the size of a boulder smashed a car parked a quarter-mile away. The owner would beat the goat with sticks, and he did this to make it aggressive towards humans, so it would guard him. And this went on for a long time. But one day, the goat had enough. It charged forward, ramming its sharp horns straight into the man's stomach, twice. As the man stumbled away, the goat chased him onto the porch, then kicked him off. And he hit the ground hard, dying within minutes. When his body was found, the goat was captured, but instead of being put down, it was taken in by animal rescuers. The piglets would be put inside a cloth bag and taken to the market, where people would buy them as food. But some sellers would put a cat in the bag instead of a pig, and if the buyer didn't check, they'd get home and find the wrong animal. But if someone opened the bag before they paid for it, the scam was exposed, and they would have let the cat out of the bag.